Hello and welcome to Steve and Dave's 50 Years Ago This Month. This time around, we're talking about the Billboard Hot 100 from February 14th, 1976. Steve, what's on the top of the list?
Yeah, so at number one, it's Paul Simon with 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. Paul Simon, right, who's working quite closely with a lot of folks, including Phil Ramone. Uh,
That's right. Phil Ramone is the producer of this Still Crazy After All These Years. That's the album that 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover appears on, his fourth studio album. Um, and it was recorded at Ramone's A&R Studios, A&R Recording in New York. A&R because Ramone had put this together with Jack Arnold, um, and Arnold wasn't along for the ride for very long. He became ill, but A&R Recording started in 1958, and by this time it was Ramone's baby. Arnold and Ramone had liked the idea of A&R recording because, of course, Arnold is the A and R is Ramone,
mhm.
but it's also it matched the industry acronym for artist and repertoire, the A&R guys, right?
Right.
Anyway, this is where they recorded the thing, and um, I guess the elephant in the room with this particular song is the percussion, right?
For sure.
And just depending on who you ask or what version of the story you hear, um, Ramon had heard Steve Gadd like practicing at the studio and liked what he heard. It was kind of a Marshall type of
Right.
beat and some interesting work with cymbals and so on. But they decided that that would be just the perfect thing, and Simon liked it because he said it helped to avoid the clutter. Just this little drum percussion thing going on in the background.
It's very unusual. It's a very unusual sound for a pop record. It's very unusual for a Paul Simon record.
Yeah, and very distinctive. And we'll talk more
Yeah.
about Steve Gatt a little bit later. But Simon described this song as, quote, just a fluke hit that I slipped into by accident. First of all, the drum thing was kind of an accident. Second of all, this whole Ryman Simon, slip out the back jack type of thing apparently came about because he was teaching his son about rhymes and rhyming. So these were the sort of things that they would do while he was taking a bath. Um, 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. They only ever mentioned five, but this was as inconceivable as it is to me. This was his only number one hit ever.
That okay, okay. That does seem almost impossible.
I know. You seem skeptical.
I mean, he certainly hit number one with Art Garfunkel.
Yes. Well, okay. I'm sorry.
I mean, and I know
I
this is what you're getting at,
yes.
but
His only solo number one hit. Yes,
it it
that's
it is the case that he had massive solo success, and he had a lot of songs. I'm guessing in the top 10, a
oh
lot of
yes.
songs,
Oh
but
sure.
but to top the charts, honestly though, it is okay. On the face of it, it is really strange. But if you think about Paul Simon, he has always swam a little bit against the current when it came to pop music. And I think to that point, I mean, this song, I mean, we're this it's 1976. This is the disco era, and you've got this peculiar song with the Marshall beat, you know. So let's just slip out the back jack. It's but yeah, it, it's odd that he didn't have more success.
Well, you think about songs like Kodachrome or My Little Town, uh, and the songs that he was in the top 10 with were not songs that I personally would have said, well, those are among his best. Um, it's all good stuff. It's Paul Simon, right? But it's a strange mix, and it's very strange to me that with his solo career, this is the only time he ever
I
made the
mean,
top 10
I
spot.
mean that's right. I think I mean, you've actually, you put your finger on it. I mean, there are ways to explain it, but it is odd. That being said, though, I mean, Simon is entering his I mean, this is his peak period, right? In terms of um his also his influence on the culture, right? Because he's pals with a young Lauren Michaels, and so he's making these appearances on Saturday Night Live, and he has he is he's running with a pretty fast crowd. We're starting to. I mean, it's just, Paul Simon is it's good to be Paul Simon if it's the 1970s.
And it's worth mentioning that it's on this album that he gets together with Garfunkel again, once again, uh, to create a hit
Yeah, I mean,
with My Little Town.
which is a magnificent number. I think one of their
Oh,
I
fantastic.
mean,
Yeah.
arguably I think it's one of their best, but yeah. But it's but this is from the album, right? That is considered one of his best. I mean, the other thing about Simon, Dave, right, is that we both see him more, I think, as an album artist than a singles artist. And the I mean, it's just this every album that he does has just replete with incredible deep cuts.
Yes. Yeah.
And this one is no exception. And so yeah, it's but you're right. I mean, it's a curiosity that he's only on the top of the charts as a solo artist just once.
Well, okay. The single was released on December 20th, 1975, Columbia Records. Um, it's first peaked at number one February 7th and was on that slot for 3 weeks. Um, it was his highest charting song in France, where it peaked at number two.
Oh, the French. No, they
Oh,
go wild about Mr. Simon, Monsieur. Oh God.
it was a top 20 hit in Canada and New Zealand, and it received the gold certification by the RIAA in March. Anyway,
Does it strike you as odd that this is a song that that translated internationally in this regard? Is there not something about the wordplay and all of that that just seems, I mean, it's like it's rooted in American English. And
well,
maybe yeah, I just
yeah, I think there's something about listening to a song in another language with that language's rhymes. I mean, clean rhymes. Um, that's kind of appealing. But what do I know? Apparently, it had some sort of appeal.
well, yeah, I mean, it clearly had an appeal.
Anyway, the reviews of 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover were mostly positive. Billboard called it an excellent song that has very clever lyrics and easy to listen to melody. Cashbox said it is, quote, a clever commercial song about the elasticity of love, how easy it is to pull away, and equally easy to snap back with it, end quote.
Well, there we go. Now that's a review.
Um, Record World said that the song, quote, finds Simon aided by a crack team of session men and the unmistakable vocals of Phoebe Snow. We'll talk about that in just a bit because absolutely true. He had the creme de la creme working on this. Spin was a little bit more critical of the song and listed it
Yeah,
as one of the 50 worst songs by otherwise great artists.
I kind of get it.
Yeah,
I kind of get it. Yeah.
yeah, I think well, anyway,
I kind of get
for
it. But
me,
yeah.
very enjoyable. For me, still very typical Simon.
Oh,
And
it
yeah,
doesn't get on your nerves a little bit. Like,
oh no.
Like a whole bunch. Okay. All right. All right. Yeah.
So it does get on your nerves like a whole
Oh,
bunch.
definitely. Oh, yeah. It's yeah, yeah. hmm it's
So,
something close. It's something close to a novelty number, and for my taste, and it just seems like in the Simon catalog, this is one of the Simon hits that I don't really need to ever hear.
well, it remained a bestseller for nearly 5 months.
Oh yeah. Oh, it was a huge song. Yeah.
Billboard ranked it as the number eight song of 1976.
Oh yeah. It struck a chord.
And,
Uh,
this was following the divorce, his first divorce
right.
from Peggy Harper.
Right.
And so he was just trying to, I guess, put that in a little bit more humorous light. Um,
Well, this would be a pattern for him with like ex-partners and trying to put breakups in a humorous light, which didn't always go down well with said partners. But you know,
strangely enough, yes.
yeah, but yeah, imagine that.
Let's talk for a second about the lineup that he had working on this. It's stellar. For one thing, on electric guitar, he had John Tropea.
Mhm.
Um, he had Hugh McCracken, also on electric guitar.
Yeah,
Uh,
Session Giant. Yeah,
yeah, McCracken was a member of the White Elephant Orchestra, which was
yeah.
a 20-piece experimental jazz rock outfit, along with Steve Gadd and Tony Levin, the bassist. Um, and he has worked with such luminaries as Billy Joel, Roberta Flack, B.B. King, John Lennon, McCartney, the Monkees, Art Garfunkel, James Taylor, Phoebe Snow, Bob Dylan, Carly Simon, Graham Parker, Yoko Ono, Eric Carmen, Aretha Franklin, Jimmy Buffett, Van Morrison, uh, Hall and Oates, the Archies,
The
Gary,
Archies, you say?
Gary Wright, Andy Gibb, Don McLean.
Oh,
Um, one of his best known pieces was the slide guitar solo on All by Myself
mhm.
by Carmen. He
Yeah.
played the guitar parts in Hey 19 for Steely Dan, and the main fills on Van Morrison's Brown Eyed Girl were his. So just
I mean, yeah,
he's
legendary
he's one
figure.
of the people working on this. Tony Levin, someone that anyone who's familiar with Peter Gabriel's Shaking the Tree tour,
Right.
they did a movie of that, and he's the bass guitarist on stage there. He was an on again, off again member of King Crimson from
Yep,
1981 on.
that's right. Yeah. He is one of the he has he did a lot of work with the Chapman stick, right? And so the
Yes.
this unusual instrument that he's a master of.
In 2011, Levin ranked number two behind John Paul Jones in the 20 most underrated bass guitarists in Paste magazine.
Okay, that's an interesting list if you think about it, because I mean, almost by definition, bass guitarists are underrated, but I mean, it's kind of the but yeah.
Yeah.
So the
In July 2020, he was ranked number 42 on the 50 greatest bassists of all time by Rolling Stone magazine.
hmm,
So that's bass
yeah.
guitar. On the Hammond organ, we had Kenny Asher. Asher was known uh, primarily for the work that he did with Paul Williams, um, which was the Rainbow Connection for the Muppet movie.
Oh, grief.
And he also co-wrote with Williams, You and Me Against the World.
Oh, that song tears me up.
I know it does.
It tears me up. Yeah.
So it's a top 10 hit for Helen Reddy.
Oh, it certainly was.
Then we had Ralph McDonald on the tambourine and shaker.
Oh, come
Um,
on.
McDonald is known as mostly as a composer, and included songs like "Where Is the Love" for Roberta Flack
Oh,
and Don
absolutely.
Hathaway, "Just the Two of Us" by Bill Withers
Yep.
and Grover Washington Jr. And he worked with people like Bacharach, George Benson,
I I I
Bowie. Aretha Franklin.
I dare say a little overqualified for the tambourine.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, it's
but I think the shaker requires a little bit of subtlety that not everybody can bring to it. Uh, all right. Anyway, again, a list of who's who
yeah,
of people
for sure.
that he worked with. Um, of course, back to Steve Gadd. Gadd was inducted into the Modern Drummer Hall of Fame in 1984, um, and his percussionist performances on a number of songs are just like almost legendary. Late in the Evening, another Paul Simon song from 1980.
Yeah.
Um, Van McCoy's The Hustle, which we've
Right.
already talked about.
Yeah.
Ricky Lee Jones, Chuck Keys in Love, and Steely Dan's Edja. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
the
yeah.
drum solo he played at the end of that song has become, quote, the stuff of legend, end quote, according to Jazz's.
Yeah.
He played on the blues album Riding with the King, toured extensively with Eric Clapton and James Taylor, and was the percussionist for the Simon Garfunkel's concert in Central Park.
Right.
Then we had the background vocals, Patty Austin, Valerie Simpson from Ashford and Simpson, solid as a rock. Um,
Indeed.
Phoebe Snow had just put out her first album and appeared on this, and was also background vocals on Gone at Last.
Gone at Last. Yeah, it's a kind of duet.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
With
Well, right.
with
Yeah.
talent like that, you just can't
Well,
go wrong.
this is the thing too. I mean, it's not just the attraction of working with Simon, it's also the attraction of working with Ramon. And Ramon was a kind of it's a kind of hit machine into the 70s into the 80s. I think Ramon's probably, I think, probably best known for his work with Billy Joel. I mean, so whatever Billy
Right.
Joel became, I think he owes a lot to Phil Ramone, and I don't think that's any great secret. But yeah, so Phil Ramone is, um, I would say he was probably in the two or three most desired producers of this era. I mean, he's just has a kind of magic touch. And so yeah, between Simon and Ramone, yeah, there'd be people lining up around the block to work with these guys, no question. Well, shall we listen to a little bit?
Oh yeah, let's listen
Let,
into.
let's listen to just a smidge of 50 Ways to Live Your Lover.
Problem is all inside your head, she said to me. The answer is easy if you take it logically. I'd like to help you in your struggle to be free. There must be 50 ways to leave your lover.
Oh yeah, and we hear several of them, right? We hear several of them. And so one of the things
Five,
is,
a
yeah,
total of five.
five and candidly five's enough, I think. But five, um,
I would have just enjoyed the all 50 in Paul Simon rhymes.
you just keep waiting for the pace to pick up, and it never does. But I understand. I mean, there's a great affection for the song and for Mr. Simon. So, okay, so I mean, compare. Okay, so you ask what was number two. I mean, this is the chart in February of '76. At number two, it's Donna Summer's "Love to Love You, Babe." Love to Love You, Baby. We talked about that.
Oh yes.
Uh, at number three, it's Hot Chocolate from Great Britain with "You Sexy Thing." I mean, could 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover be like any farther? I mean, come on, what are we talking about here? So it's really, I, I think it's a testament to, I think to some degree, the listening public. The people have this kind of this broad palette that and people, because these songs are all popular. These songs are all on the radio. They're very, I mean, 50 Ways is just incredibly different, incredibly different.
Yeah.
At number four, then it's Rhythm Heritage, a kind of studio collection of greats with the theme from SWAT. And the theme from SWAT is it's an ABC show, so All right, it's an ABC show that airs in 75 and 76. So we're actually kind of right at the end of SWAT's run on ABC. It's as a series the first year. The series stars Steve Forrest and a ubiquitous figure on American television, a guy by the name of Robert Urich, who will become, I mean, Urich he's in everything, Spencer for Hire, I mean, just name it. This is, I think, in many ways his start on American television. SWAT is a special weapons and tactics unit, and SWAT squads were comparatively unusual in this era. In fact, I think for a lot of people, the series was in fact a kind of a SWAT. What the heck's SWAT? But I mean, that's what's going on here. The rhythm heritage. Well, okay, so the
People weren't getting swatted all the time.
people were
Uh,
not yet. No, that would come that
yeah,
would come much later.
that was a
Um,
very very specialized type of unit.
the song is penned by Barry Dvorak, and Dvorak is a songwriter of some note in Hollywood. He penned a lot of movie and television themes. Um, he had a fair amount of success. One of the things that he's, I think, best known for is something called Nadia's theme, which was used on a soap opera, but then was then attached to it was connected to Nadia Comaneci in 1976, and this would be a gigantic hit for Dvorak. But the Rhythm Heritage Group is again a collection of uh, session musicians, uh, primarily headed by two, a guy by the name of Steve Barry and then Michael Omartian on keyboards. And Omartian, well, Barry became famous for his production work across a wide spectrum of popular artists. But Omartian, well, Omartian was a session guy who played with everybody from contemporary Christian artists to, well, to the aforementioned Steely Dan. He did a lot of work with Steely Dan. And it's actually his work with Steely Dan that gave him a fair amount of, if you will, street cred with other artists. Omartian, for example, he produced, for example, the first Christopher Cross album. And Cross was sort of unsure about using Omartian as a producer, and then someone reminded him that he was playing with the Dan, and that was good enough for him. So it's an interesting kind of assembly of figures. The song actually is a number one song. It's one of those few American pop songs that actually get to the top of the charts that actually is a television theme. While a lot of songs will chart, particularly in the 70s, and my God, we've talked about a ton of these songs already, particularly the work of Mike Post. It is comparatively rare for television themes to make it to number one, but this one did. And what's odd about this, I think, on some level, is that this song, I think, is more fondly remembered than, and I think more highly regarded than the show that it came from. But that's either, that's how these things go oftentimes. And so let's listen to a little bit of the theme from SWAT. You get a little taste of it there. It's pretty good. It's hip and happening. So theme from
Yeah,
SWAT.
it's one of the really successful theme songs, which if they did their job, they got you hyped for the show that was to follow. It's like,
Yeah,
okay,
the
let's do
yeah,
this.
yeah. In fact, I think it raised expectations too high for this particular. So it was this show is terrible, but the theme is pretty awesome. And so there we
Yeah.
have it at number four, Rhythm Heritage with theme from SWAT. At number five, then this is a really interesting group, and I think there's a lot here with this group that it's worth talking about. It's Earth, Wind, and Fire, and Sing a Song.
Yeah, absolutely. Sing a Song was from the double album Gratitude. Gratitude had three sides of live music, and one side was the new music, and this is where Sing the Song comes from.
Yeah.
So, like after six studio albums, they did this double album, and the album itself spent 6 weeks atop the soul albums chart for Billboard, and 3 weeks atop the Billboard 200 chart. Certified triple platinum in the U.S.
Yes, huge. Yeah.
The song was written by Maurice White. Of course, he was the leader of the band, uh,
Yeah.
and Al McKay. Producers were White and Charles Stepney, and the song was released November 1975 on Columbia Records.
Yeah.
Um, Went to number one on the Hot Soul Singles chart and peaked at number five on the Hot 100. Um, Record World said that the song is, quote, uh, has vocal parlays reminiscent of the early Sly and the Family Stone,
Agreed.
and
Yeah.
a horn section that is as tight as Chicago's. This group should soon be back on top, end quote. So, shall we
They're
listen
great.
in?
Yeah, they were great. Just a quick word. There's also this piece of Earth, Wind, and Fire that there is a kind of there's a kind of ideology that surrounds them. And it is it's often, I think, been lampooned a little bit because the White had a kind of he tapped into a variety of sort of faith traditions and kind of spiritual kinds of things but there is a kind of positivity behind Earth, Wind, and Fire that's undeniable, and the positivity was intentional. I think that White saw what was happening in the larger culture and wanted to be a kind of bulwark against that. And so I think there is something here that is, um, it's a little more than meets the eye. I really do. But Earth, Wind, and Fire is awesome, and we should definitely take a little listen here
Well,
to.
I think it's that positive energy that is one of the reasons that the live show was so great. I mean, they
Yeah, totally
incorporated
agree.
all sorts of show elements into that that had nothing to do with the music. But I think they just had an incredible energy on stage that made them one of the top live acts of the day.
There's no question. Yeah, and when in their peak era, this sort of the '70s era, there were few bands that really could match them, I think, live. I mean, they really, I mean, everything you read about the Earth, Wind, and Fire from this era is that they were a just jaw-dropping live act.
Yeah.
So here we go. Sing a song.
When you feel down and out, sing a song, it'll make you dance, yeah, yeah. You will time to shout out, sing a song, it'll make a way. Sometimes it's hard to care. Sing a song, it'll make you dance. A smile is so hard to bear. Sing a
Oh,
song.
there we go. It's just beautiful, man. It just really and Philip Bailey, it doesn't get much better than Philip Bailey. So I mean, they had a winning combination, and there were few groups in this era that were bigger than Earth, Wind, and Fire. And if it's 1976, they're just hitting their stride. So at number six, um, yeah, number six, number five, excuse me, sing a song from Earth, Wind, and Fire. Let's take a look at what else is on the top 10. We've talked about a couple of these songs. It's Barry Manilow at number five with Bruce Johnston's "I Write the Songs." So Bruce Johnston, I just noticed, had just made his announcement that he's no longer going to tour with the Beach Boys after like 55 years or something like that. He's gonna step away from all that. At number seven, it's the Ohio Players, and oh man, the Ohio Players in this era with Love Roller Coaster. So Funkalicious, for sure. And speaking of funk, at number 8, it's The Miracles with Love Machine Part 1. And so The Miracles, yeah, that's a familiar group. Yeah, so Smokey Robinson and the Miracles were in many ways the cornerstone group for the fledgling Motown Tamala
Yeah.
label in the 60s. And you can alongside I guess Stevie Wonder, I think that Smokey Robinson and the Miracles kind of kept the label afloat for a long time. It's interesting though. Robinson pined for more recognition, more I think more authority, and he saw himself, I think, with some justification as more than just a performer. And
Oh,
there was
yeah, he definitely was. I
yeah,
think there's no question about that.
and
Um, it's hard to imagine Motown without Robinson.
I think that's right, and I think everybody knew it, and I certainly think that Smokey Robinson knew that. So it's a little surprised that Robinson kind of pulled away from the Miracles by the early 1970s, leaving the group then a little bit adrift. That being said, though, they have a couple of really interesting hits from the mid 1970s. This is, I think, by far the most interesting. Love Machine. It's man, it's really something. It is as well. It's funkier than anything that the group pulls off with Smokey. It's just a very different kind of song. Love Machine tops the charts eventually on the pop charts at number 1. It will be a number 5 R&B hit, and man, it's something. And so we should listen to it here because this isn't your Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. This is a
Oh,
whole different kind of experience. And so with Billy Griffin,
and it's something you can play on the disco floor.
well, you got that right. And so here we go. Love Machine, and I won't work for nobody but you.
I'm just a love machine, and I won't work for nobody but you. Yeah, baby. I'm just a love machine, a hug and kiss and thing. I think it's high time you knew. Whenever I think of you, my mind blows up you, baby. When I look in your eyes, my meter starts to rise, and I become confused.
Oh my. Oh, it's just fantastic. It's just fantastic. Love Machine from the Miracles. This is the high watermark for the Miracles, Sans Smokey, but what a song. And so all right, so let's slow it down a little bit, shall we? So at number 8, excuse me, number 9, you have a familiar figure in Neil Sedaka and a familiar song, but with a new take on it. So it's breaking up is hard to do.
Yeah, this is an example of one of the few times that an artist will have a hit with the same song in two different versions.
Very true. Yeah.
That doesn't happen very often, but he had, of course, had a more upbeat version back in the 50s with this, and this song was covered. It just surprisingly covered a lot, um,
It is, and it,
even by the Partridge Family.
yeah, it's surprising to me, Dave. I know we talked about this a little bit ago, yeah, but yes, this seems so completely identifiable with Sedaka and Sedaka only, and that like even like you say, the Partridge Family. Um, hmm, I don't know. It's odd.
Yeah. Well, this was on the album Overnight Success in the UK and The Hungry Years in the US, and was part of
The Hungry
a
Years.
larger attempt at a comeback by Sedaka, which was um, of middling success, at least. Um, this would be followed um, shortly by Bad Blood. Um, Followed, right? Have we talked about Bad Blood
We've
already?
talked about Bad Blood. No, we've
Okay,
talked about, yeah, we've talked about Bad Blood.
this followed Bad Blood.
Yeah, and this is, on the heels of Laughter in the Rain. There is, I think he makes a case for himself in the mid '70s. Of course, we talked about the embrace that the Captain and Tennille gave him and all that.
Right, right.
Um,
And he's
it's
back writing again with Howard Greenfield, who
right. That's
was
exactly right.
his
Yeah.
writing partner back in his heyday. And that would go on for a couple of years yet. Um, his producer here was well, he produced it himself with Robert Appere. Um, was released on Rocket Records in the U.S., Elton John's label,
Yeah.
December 1975. Polydor released it internationally, um, and it peaked at number 8. Uh, Went to number 1 on the easy listening chart. So, it is what it is.
It's
I'm not a big fan. I don't think you
I
are.
no, I'm not. I think it's a very odd choice, but I do understand this, and we'll hear it in a second. I do understand this. Um, the original Breaking Up is hard to do. There is a kind of there's almost a kind of doo-wop feel to it,
Yes. Yeah.
and it's
And it starts off with a reference to that version, right?
that's particularly odd. But I get that a more
Because what
mature.
follows does not compare well.
No, I don't. It doesn't work for me either. But I guess let's get out of the way and
All right.
let's let Mr. Sedaka have his moment here.
You tell me that you're leaving. I can't believe it's true. Girl, there's just no living without you. Don't take your love away from me. Don't you leave my heart in misery. 'Cause if you go, then I'll be blue. Breaking up is hard to do.
To me, it's reminiscent of the kind of thing that Bill Murray was doing to songs as Nick the singer.
Lot of thing,
I,
yeah.
to me, it sort of borders on parody, but there we go.
Okay, I
I guess
won't. I would not go that far. I think it's it for what it is and what it is intended to be. It's a fine job, fine rendition. Um, Not the sort of music that I generally tend to listen to, but for what it is, it's really good.
there we go. And we would be remiss to not acknowledge the passing of Neil Sedaka
Yeah,
as we record this. He passed a few days ago, and I think we know, well, we never met Sedaka, but we know someone who did, who worked with him, and
indeed.
Jeff Reed, and who had really high praise for the man, and was a mensch, as they say, really a good guy, and
Right.
um and really
Yeah.
made, I think, a quite an interesting contribution to popular music in the late 20th century.
Oh yeah, no question. Yeah.
So at number 10 in February of '76, it's the Electric Light Orchestra, and from their album Face the Music, it's Evil Woman. E.L.O. Was born from the ashes of a group called The Move. Roy Wood, Bev Bevan, and Jeff Lynne decided to go out on their own and to try to sort of create a kind of rock and roll orchestra, if you will. Wood wasn't around very long, and it's pretty clear that just even a few months into the experiment, that Jeff Lynne was grabbing hold of it. Um, That's maybe for the best. I think it's probably for the best, but it's pretty clear that this is Jeff Lynne's band by the time we get to 1975, 1976. ELO will be entering, from my mind, really their peak period with this album, Face the Music, followed by a New World Record, which I think may be their high water mark, and then followed by the double album, Out of the Blue. This song is it's surprisingly funky. There was a real, I think, the concern on this album that there wasn't a single, that there were a lot of really interesting kind of deeper cuts, and there is on this album. I think people who are ELO aficionados will know immediately that there's a song called "Fire on High," which leads off the album, which is an instrumental piece, which is unbelievable. But where's the single? Well, they found the single. It features
Well, I'm
a,
a bit surprised that they were worried about it because for me, this is
well,
clearly single material.
well, to that point. I mean, it was a hit. It did peak. It did make the top 10. This is as far as it went in the United States, and it would open the door to I think other singles that would happen in the next album. But I think it's fair to say that ELO had not had a lot of single success up to this point. And I think there was concern that this was going to be an album oriented band. And I think that Lynn always thought of himself as a kind of pop auteur. I mean, Lynn famously sort of just, was completely immersed with the Beatles. There's even an allusion to the Beatles in this song with Fixin' a Hole. And to that point,
And would later work with Harrison
he
and
would later work with Harrison, and Lennon was quite open in his admiration for ELO in the 70s and talked that, in fact, if they had the Beatles stayed together, this might have been the direction that they headed. So, it's there's a lots of love being shared or being sent ELO's way, but still, are they going to sell records? Well, I think in many ways, this is one of the songs that opened the door for ELO. It opens with Richard Tandy's piano work, which we'll hear in a second. For my money, I think Richard Tandy is always sort of the secret sauce of E.L.O. His keyboard work was extraordinary. And like with almost all E.L.O. songs, this one is penned um, by Jeff Lynne and produced by Jeff Lynne. And I suppose that you take the good with the bad. It's eventually Jeff Lynne who will kind of overwhelm the rest of the members of the E.L.O. and it will sort of eventually splinter. But, until then, E.L.O. moves quite gracefully. So here we go. This is Evil Woman.
You made a fool of me, but the broken dreams have got to end. Hey, woman, you got the blues, 'cause you ain't got no one else to use. There's an open road that leads nowhere, so just make some miles between you and there.
Yeah, there we go. And it's also the case, I think, that at this point, Jeff Lynne still has a serviceable voice, never a great singer, but a serviceable voice. And so there's a lot happening here that I think really, I think, sets the table for the upcoming a new world record. And we'll be talking a lot about that because that is just one hit after the next. And so there we have it at number 10, ELO's Evil Woman. We're going to cherry pick a little bit. All right. So here we go. At number 16, this group doesn't have a lot of single success in the United States. I think it's fair to say this band had a lot more hits in England than they ever did in the US. Nevertheless, at number 16, whew, it's Squeezebox from The Who.
yeah, talking about their success, this was their only international number one hit. It reached #1 in Canada. It was #2 on the Irish charts. And it was their first top 10 hit in Britain since 1972's Joined Together,
Yeah.
which is mind-blowing.
Well,
Again, if you think about, because you think about what has happened since
what what
1972,
well, what's
you
the
have
mind-blowing part, Dave? I'm sorry. What's the mind-blowing part?
since 1972, Who's Next was released, I believe, in 72.
Yeah,
Joined
yeah,
Together,
who's next? Yeah,
Joined
who's
Together is
next?
from Who's Next, right?
Joined yes, joined together is from Who's Next. Yes. It's kind of a deep cut from Who's Next.
Well, right. Um, one of the least interesting songs
Well,
from that from that
well,
album.
I don't know about that, but I mean, but it's okay.
But
And
anyway,
who's next? Okay, so you have Who's Next. Um,
Quadrophenia,
yeah, I mean, right. There are no singles on Quadrophenia, really.
515.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Anyway,
I stand corrected. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I stand corrected. Um,
it seems like
yeah.
they had done a lot of work
I,
in,
I,
in the time in between. A
yeah,
lot
I
of
hear you.
interesting stuff.
No, I definitely hear you. I think the jaw-dropping part, Dave, is this song.
Well, yeah, and certainly the group was surprised by its success. Um,
I believe
it,
that.
it it reached the top 10 in the UK, number 16 on the US Billboard Hot 100. So yeah, it did well, and I don't think anyone expected it to. Let's talk a little bit about the Who by Numbers. This
Yeah.
the
Let's do
album
it.
that this came from.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
It was their seventh studio album, released in October '75. Polydor Records in the UK and by MCA in the States. It was named the 10th best album of the year in the Village Voice, Paz, and Job critics poll. And they had Glyn Johns
Right.
as producer for this, um, who had also produced Who's Next. Um, but the band was just in a terrible place
They're always in a
in terms
terrible
of
place.
nobody
Uh,
wanted to be doing this. They had just
yeah.
come back from a world tour of Tommy. Um, Townsend was in a mess. He had just recently turned 30, um, thinking that he was getting too old for this sort of thing, having a real struggle,
Yeah.
having a real struggle with just dealing with the music industry itself. Um, he describes it in this way. He said basically the band recorded every song he had written for Who by Numbers because he was just barely turning anything out. He had a huge writer's block at the time. Um, and he said, quote, "The songs were written with me stoned out of my brain in my living room, crying my eyes out, detached from my own work and from the whole project. I felt empty." And then he goes on to describe, the sessions and said, quote, "I felt partly responsible because the Who recording schedule had, as usual, dragged on, sweeping all individuals and their needs aside. Glenn worked harder on the Who by Numbers than I've ever seen him. He had to, not because the tracks were weak or the music poor, but because the group was so useless. We played cricket between takes or went to the pub. I personally had never done that before. I felt detached from my own songs, from the whole record. Recording the album seemed to take me nowhere. Roger was angry with the world at the time. Keith seemed as impetuous as ever, on the wagon 1 minute, off the next. John was obviously gathering strength throughout the whole period. The great thing about it was he seemed to know we were going to need him more than ever before in the coming year.
Yeah.
End quote. So, uh, from this album, which was critically well received. Yeah, the song itself, Squeezebox, some folks have noted that there seems to be a sort of double entendre at the base of the song.
Oh.
Although Townsend absurdly denied that in some of his first interviews about the song, would go on to, of course, admit that it was
Yeah.
not entirely unintended. Uh, Squeezebox was originally intended for a Who television special that was planned for 1974. And in the planned performance of that song, the members of the band were to be surrounded by 100 topless women playing accordions.
See, there we go.
So just a little bit on the nose, but it becomes clear what was intended.
That premise would be later embraced by by Queen, right? With Bicycle Race.
Yes, fat bottom girls and so
Yeah,
on.
there we go. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, anyway, uh, the album was recorded following the tour for Quadrophenia in June 1974 when that tour ended. The Who had taken an extended hiatus and had not performed live for more than a year.
Yeah.
In addition, the band spent the time filming Tommy, um, and so they were basically following up on previous projects in this time, and two rock operas, and so if there was some
It's
if there was some burnout there, I think it's understandable.
it hasn't. I mean, the band's kind of run aground by this point, right? I mean, it's and
Seems
I
to
think
have, yeah.
and I think you can argue that it's the kind of out of ideas.
That seems to be the
I'm
case. He
I
said
mean, yeah.
Townsend said he had a writer's block.
Well, this is the Who has come and gone by this point. I understand that they'll continue to record. They'll have Who's Next in a year or two. They'll have they'll do the with Kenny Jones and all that. I don't think there's much left in the band. I just think it feels like to me like the best songs from Townsend. Again, this is just me going off here, but the best songs from Townsend will appear on his solo albums. I think we would both agree that, Empty Glass, which should be recorded in the late 70s, it's magnificent, as is, I think, Chinese Eyes. Uh,
Oh yeah, it's
I
a
just,
absolute high
I
watermark.
mean,
Yeah.
I mean, this is, what you're describing here sounds like a band that's kind of, they're on the downhill side completely.
Well, I think if you take a look at Who Are You, late 70s, that's still a really, really strong album. So
They're
I would
definitely,
push back a little bit on them.
I would say that, yeah, okay. I think it's fair. I think that it is, yeah, it's not who's next, but there are definitely a lot of cuts on there, but it's just, I don't know. There's just a lot. Just this album, I don't know. Critics, I know what the critics said. There's nothing here. So,
Well, yeah, yeah, all right. Um, they were struggling. Townsend was not did not think this was one of his great songs. He was astonished at its chart success. Um, he said, quote, I had bought myself an accordion and learned to play it in one afternoon. The accordion gave the song a polka-esque rhythm, and the lyrics, which I wrote for fun, were intended as a poorly aimed, dirty joke. I had no thought of it ever becoming a hit, but to my disbelief, it became a hit for us in the USA. End quote.
There we go. Yeah.
So I think that pretty much gets it. Let's just listen in.
Mama's got a squeeze box she wears on her chest. But when daddy comes home, he never gets no rest. Cause she's playing all night, and the music's alright. Mama's got a squeeze box, daddy never sleeps at night.
Oh my goodness. And to
One of
think,
your favorites, right?
well, and to think that for some, this is when they think of the Who, this is what they think of.
Well, that really, you think that's true?
Sure. Oh, I absolutely believe this. I mean, it was a by Who standards, quite a successful song. And
Well,
so this is,
and for you, like right after Bob O'Reilly, right? The number two,
oh,
right? It's
well, well, no. Well, no, actually. So there we have it. For better or worse, that's Squeeze Box. We'll give you a chance to. We're going to look at a couple more songs here. I do want to look at the cover of Time magazine, mid-February 1976, and it features the cast of characters from Gary Trudeau's
oh yeah.
Doonesbury. And so I guess we give us a chance to visit about Doonesbury for a second, because I think it's pretty clear that this is, um, I think it's Doonesbury's high water mark, although I guess maybe some people would push back and think maybe it was the 80s. But Dave, how would you describe Doonesbury?
I apart from the fact that it really was full on political commentary at a time that really was not something that comics did. Um, it was also just consistently really funny. I love Doonesbury. I still do. I think Gary Trudeau is a genius.
So, and I too, I think Doonesbury is a fascinating and funny, quite a consistent comic strip. Started during Trudeau's time at Yale. In fact, those characters sort of, he carried them with him for decades. Um, the key characters, I guess, are here
They're
on the
they're
cover.
still, yeah, they're still around.
Yeah.
You know,
It
he still does the strip, and these characters are all still in it. So
it's it's a fascinating it's a fascinating moment in American history as we're still trying to sort of sort out I guess the whole notion of leadership. We're rumbling, stumbling, bumbling in February of 76 into an election. It's we've got a president who in the form of Jerry Ford, who is unelected, was unelected as vice president, unelected as president. At I think at best, I think a caretaker. Um, it's a very unsettled time,
Ford's
and
administration might be the only Republican administration that did not just uh, rip apart Doonesbury and Trudeau. They hated. I mean, the Republican presidents have really been upset by Doonesbury throughout the decades.
I think that's true. I don't think there's any question about that. It's and Doonesbury found a lot of ammunition with the Nixon administration, and then later with the Ford administration. The
And with
sec
Reagan and with Bush
Yeah, I
and
misspoke.
yeah,
Yeah, with Reagan. Yeah,
yeah.
I think the sanctimonious Jimmy Carter was maybe less fun to gang up on, but it was, it was a time when I think newspapers still mattered, and where editorial cartoons and comic strips, which this typically appeared on the op-ed page, um, well, oftentimes did. It really would depend, right? Because it it was unusual in that it was so overtly political.
Yeah.
I mean, but later Trudeau would have some I guess some modest success with a musical and all of that. But yeah, Doonesbury. It makes a lot of sense to put that on the cover of Time magazine in '76. Let's
And
cherry pick. Yeah.
to his credit, he was not just a Republican basher. He commented critically on the politics of the day throughout Democratic
Mm,
administrations as
oh,
well.
that's true. Although I don't think he, there's not much doubt about his leanings
Oh, I no, it's clearly
and it's and and nobody got more glee from from bashing the GOP than did and maybe deservedly so. Oftentimes maybe deservedly so, but yeah, it's yeah, equal opportunity in that regard. But Trudeau was, well, fascinating character, and like you say, he's still at it.
still at it. Yeah.
He's still chipping away. A couple of more songs that we want to talk about. At number 17, it's Elton John's "Grow Some Funk of Your Own," and I feel like a bullet in the gun of Robert Ford, a peculiar kind of double A side effort. The Robert Ford song, I think, frankly, a fairly ponderous number, reflects Bernie Taupin's complete obsession with the West. Robert Ford was Jesse James' outlaw partner and all of that. Grow Some Funk of Your Own, though. I think it's a heavier song. It rocks. Davy Johnstone is featured, thankfully. He also Davy Johnstone gets a writing credit. Um, Famously, right, or infamously, right, Elton John had blown up his band with this session in at Caribou Ranch, dismissing Dee Murray and Nigel Olsson, and that was
Rock of the Westies.
that yeah. I mean, it was there. Just almost everything about these recording sessions were problematic. And while there was some music that came from it, and there are people who are fairly, I guess, kind of loyal to this album and to Elton John, I don't. It doesn't do much for me. That being said, Grow Some Funk of Your Own shows how Davy Johnstone's guitar can really kind of elevate a song, and it just the song really rocks. And so I don't have a lot to
Oh, it's
say
a lot of
about it.
fun.
It's
It's
a
a
lot
lot of
of
fun.
fun. And so here we
Yeah.
go. From Rock the Westies, Grow Some Funk of Your Own.
Then I looked to my watch and it's a quarter to five. The headline screamed that I was still alive. I couldn't understand it. I thought I died last night. Oh, I'd been in a border town in a little cantina that the boys had found. I was desperate to dance, just to dig the local sounds. When along came a senorita, she looked so good that I had to meet her. I was ready to approach her with my English charm. When a fast loving boyfriend grabbed me by the arm.
You get a sense of this. You get a sense of the influence of David Johnston and Ray Cooper. And so there you go. Where's the harm in growing some funk of your own? And so that we're going to look at a couple more. This next song, Dave, is I think it's Peak Bee Gees at number 22. It's Fanny, Be Tender with My Love.
Yeah, possibly my favorite um, song from
Yeah, I
possibly my favorite album of one of my favorite groups. So, it's a high
there we
bar.
go.
Um, this is from Main Course. We've talked a lot about Main Course already. It's their 13th studio album, and it's the album where the Bee Gees find their mojo again
I think so. I think that's right.
after several years of struggling and for them an unaccustomed drought of hits.
Agreed. Yeah. That's right.
And this was going to be the last album to be released by Atlantic Records under their distribution deal with RSO. Um, but Atlantic sent one of their best men down to produce. And I say down because they recorded this in Florida, of
Yep.
course, Miami. And they sent Arif Mardin to do it. And he went down and he got the job done. Um, Fanny is the third single release from the album. It peaked at number 12 um, and at number 2 in Canada. And according to Maurice, uh, Quincy Jones called Fanny one of his favorite R&B songs of all time. Um, Cashbox said, quote, appears to be the third monster single in a row for these pop masters, end quote. And that seems fair enough. Record World said, quote, the brothers Gibb returned to their old heavenly harmony sound. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just fantastic. It's just so good.
Yeah,
Um,
I agreed.
the group did not perform Fanny live because the harmonies were just so incredibly complex. There were just layers of harmonies that they couldn't even reproduce on stage. And in an interview for Billboard magazine, Maurice said, quote, we all loved that one, but it's just a bitch to sing, end quote. They came up with the name. Okay, it was written by all three. They were staying together at 461 Ocean Boulevard, which will say something to fans of Eric Clapton.
Right.
It's the name of one of his albums, and that's where he was staying when he made it. There's a long story behind this. A lot of people encouraged them to go down there and to stay there and to make their album there. And as we said, apparently it worked. Um, but we were sitting in the lounge at the Criteria, the studio that they were working at, writing the song with the lyric idea, "Be tender with my love." And Maurice turned around and he saw their cleaning woman, who's their house cleaner, whose name was
Oh,
Fanny. And he said, wouldn't it be a better song if it was a woman's name in there and you're asking her to be tender? And so, as they say, the rest is history. This is when Barry Gibb, at the encouragement of Lottie, started experimenting with his falsetto,
right, right.
and it just ends up being a fantastic, fantastic thing. The key of the song in the end was from the keyboardist Blue Weaver. Weaver was, well, to say he was influenced by Hall & Oates' Abandoned Luncheonette would be an understatement. He later admitted, quote, the key change in Fanny Be Tender was a complete ripoff from Abandoned Luncheonette from She's Gone,
Yeah.
which was also produced by Martin. He said, I only had it on tape and I didn't know that Arif produced it. So much for that. Let's just listen into this
Well,
fantastic, fantastic
let's do.
song.
West and west, then I thought, seems like you don't want the love of this man at all. And it's sure been a lonely time, right up to the time I met you. So if you take a life like mine, it's enough with my love. You know how easy it is to hurt me. Maybe it's enough with my love. 'Cause it's all that I've got, and my love won't desert me.
I think you're right, Dave. I think this is peak Bee Gees. I am not at all certain that it ever really got better for the Bee Gees than Fanny. This is I dare say it's extraordinary.
Yeah.
And remind us again at what it peaked at.
Peaked at number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100.
I mean,
Number two in Canada.
wh okay, what number
Yeah,
12?
I know. And the other thing is, Main Course never was a number one album,
Yeah, this
which
is the other
also
thing.
is just
Yeah,
mind-blowing to me.
yeah. So
They had three hits.
is it possible? Yes, I know. Three big hits, Jive Talk and Nights on Broadway. But is it possible that the public was just catching up? Because obviously the crest of the wave for the Bee Gees is coming with Saturday Night Fever. And that continued even then, Spirits having flown and all that. But is it possible that the public was just catching up with this new sound from the Bee Gees? I can't quite it it yeah, I just it somehow oftentimes these chart things don't make any kind of really impression on me, but the fact that this didn't wasn't even a top 10 hit is is it's just astounding to me.
Yeah,
Just
I
astounding.
agree. I agree. It's just
So
hard to
yeah,
believe.
and I just think, when you think about the Bee Gees and you think about their sound and their I mean, this has got to be up there. This has got to be Fanny is just peak Bee Gees. Last song we want to talk about today is at number 30. And oh goodness. So we have talked a lot about the Osmonds over the past few years, and the Osmonds were a remarkably popular group. And we talked about their the teeny bopper phase and and the love that Tiger Beat gave the Osmonds and all that. We've also talked about the emergence of young Marie Osmond
Yes.
as a kind of star. And so something quite, I mean, I guess this was inevitable. It was the 70s after all, but the Osmonds, specifically Donny and Marie, received their own variety show in in
A long running variety show. And I mean, that's one of the
well,
things that set it
okay, so
apart from some of the
okay, so
others.
Dave, what's interesting about this is that's my memory of it as well, but in fact it was not. And so nor was it particularly popular. So
What?
the variety show had started the month previous. So it starts in January of 76 and it runs until 1977. Um so I believe that it clocks in at a mere 3 seasons. It never broke into the Nielsen top 20. Not one season. Now there may have been particular episodes, but it was, I think, in the mid 20s at its high water mark. I didn't remember it this way as well. I mean, it's in my memory, this was a massive show, massively influential in its own peculiar way, but
That's so strange.
it wasn't. So the thing about a couple things about the Donny and Marie show that were unique. One was that it was produced by the Croft brothers. So the Croft brothers had made their mark in the United States on Saturday morning television. Lidsville, HR Puff and stuff. I mean, it's sort of Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, a kind of kiddie psychedelia. Um, but the Croft brothers were behind this. The first year was filmed in California, but the Osmonds insisted that they move to studios in Orem, Utah. So the series relocated for a couple of seasons to Utah. Bruce Valanche, our great friend Bruce Valanche, who wrote for the show and talks at some length in his podcasts and memoirs about the time in Utah, and it was a tough shoot, in part because they had a hard time finding people to travel to Utah. It was harder to get guest stars, and it was harder to find full crews in Utah. It was a real struggle. Donnie Marie. So Donnie and Marie will uh, be linked in this.
Wait. Okay, sorry. Before you go on, um, this poses the question then, why do it? Why
Oh, well, yeah, sure.
why go there? Is there the fear that they will be corrupted
I think there
in Los
definitely was
Angeles?
that was definitely at play amongst the Osmond clan that there was only things to be lost in California and very little to be gained. I do think that
Apart
there
from
was,
a television crew and guest
I
stars and
think, yeah, I think all true. I think there was a belief that amongst the Osmonds that there was that Utah was um, territory that there was a lot to be gained by going to Utah, including lower production costs and the like.
fewer
Um,
temptations.
and fewer temptations. And I think that that was the key piece of it. And so the Osmonds famously adherence to the Mormon faith, and I just think that that was at work. The fascinating thing was that it was, the writing staff, many of the people who were involved in the production, they were, they were Hollywood types, and they it just didn't click. It just didn't click in Utah. And so there was, I think it's a little overstated to say there was tension, but it just didn't go very well.
Yeah.
And so you have Donny and Marie. The song at 30 is, I guess, the second kind of hit that it's not, it wasn't a kind of hit, it was a modest hit for them. Um, Deep Purple. So Deep Purple.
And the better of the two hits by
I think,
far.
yeah, I think Morning Side of the Mountain
Oh,
as
jeez.
we talked
Just
about, is
awful.
dreadful, just awful. Deep Purple is a song penned in the early 30s by Peter DeRose. Later, a couple years later, Mitchell Parrish added lyrics. It had been over the decades recorded by, I mean, geez, by everybody. Bing Crosby, the Guy Lombardo's, Royal Canadians, it was a kind of standard. In the early 60s, Nino Temple and April Stevens had a monster hit with it, actually in November of 63, which is a very eventful month in American history. It reached number one. And the Donny and Marie version is basically a note for note version of the Nino Temple, April Stevens version. Deep Purple for Donny and Marie will peak at number 14 on the pop charts and number 8 on the adult contemporary charts. And again, as I mentioned a second ago, their variety show will last but one more year. Will last basically a year or so. And so it was, yeah, I don't know. It's a peculiar thing. They clearly had a place in the culture, but I don't know. Yeah, it's odd. I mean, everything about the Osmonds is a little bit odd. And I think that this show is no exception. But this song is it's okay. So
Yeah,
let's listen to
it's okay. Yeah.
couple of moments from Deep Purple, Donny and Marie at their best.
When the deep purple falls over sleepy garden walls, and the stars begin to twinkle in the sky, in the mist of the memory, you wander on back to me, breathing my name with a sigh.
All right, all right. Oh boy. For those with the
I'm
sweet tooth,
starting
Donny.
to get into it there.
There, I know. Well, I think that's it for February of 1976. So, Dave, why don't you take us home?
You bet. If you enjoyed this episode, and we hope you did, give us a thumbs up. Would you like to listen to more 50 years ago this month? We can do that right here. If you haven't subscribed to Steve and Dave's yet, you can do that here. And as always, you'll want to be sure to check out the playlist. All the great music that we talked about today can be found right here.
There we go. Keep in mind that, on this, you'll find a reading list. So, if you want to learn more about, my Lord, if you want to learn more about Donny and Marie, you can dig at some of the sources that we'll provide. And then keep in mind that we're on Blue Sky. We're posting new content on Blue Sky every day. Steve and Dave's one, Blue Sky. So, check that out. So, until next time, we'll see you soon.
Bye bye.